Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and today I'm taking a look at ArcheBlade. Now if you're wondering why this video is in a much lower resolution than what you might be used to, it's because I had to record this using OBS. That's because this game doesn't like DX Story and just crashed every time I tried to record, or at least crashed after a few minutes of actual gameplay. Anyway, what is this game all about? Well, it's a game from Korea, but that should tell you a couple of things about it already. It is a free-to-play fighting slash MOBA slash arena deathmatch spectacle fighter type game. Now, that sort of mashup does lead to a lot of potential, but unfortunately this is a really poorly executed example of it. Now, let's start off with, of course, the business model, because I'm sure you'll be keen to know what it's actually like. Now, of course, free-to-play games thrive on things like new content and microtransactions and all sorts of other means of monetization, and this is no different. Alright, there are two in-game currencies. You have the purely in-game currency called Meseta or Meseta, or whatever you call it. It's these little gold coins over here. And then you have the gems. It's generic a title as you could possibly give them, they're called gems. And these are purchased with, yep, a real currency. So a stack of 100 gems will set you back $19.99, or nearest makes no difference, $20 US. And that'll get you some items. Now what items does it actually get you? You've got the usual boosts, things like XP boosts and all that, which I'm fine with. There's nothing really wrong with boosters. But the other things that you can get with these. Now, bear in mind I did mention that this was a MOBA hybrid, but what most MOBAs have, which you would probably be familiar with, is that things like character progression and item builds and all that takes place within the actual game. So when you start up a match, you pick your character and your build will progress as the game progresses. All should be familiar with that. If you've seen a MOBA before, you would have seen this sort of thing before. However, this game gets rid of that, so the character progression can take place outside of it, so players can start off with an advantage. What is this advantage? You have equipment such as weapons and armor that you can equip your characters with, which will boost their stats in one way or another. The thing is, some of these items are cash only, and they are not just cosmetic. Now, we have a look at the weapons over here. You can actually see that some of these weapons, for example, this character that I have is a dual-wielding blade character. They have access to some credit-only and cash-only items, but they aren't cosmetic differences. They have actually got different stats, and these different stats are different between every item. So yes, some credit items are better than the other, and that, you know, that's fine, but then you've got cash-only items with different stats. Now, I haven't worked out if these are straight up better than the credit items or not, but the fact that they can be different stats-wise means you can build your character differently, which has the potential for being an unfair advantage if you're using cash items. On top of that, these things aren't cheap. Now, if you have a look at the kitchen knives in this one, they're 42 gems, which is pretty close to the 50 gems. Now, if you remember, 100 gems is $20, so that's close to $10 for just this one item. If you want to build your character fully, you're going to have to drop about $20 to $30. Just adding up all the different accessories and armors and all that to fully equip your character. Now, you could go in and get the starter pack, which might be better, but the thing is you get less gems with that, and you get a character which you could unlock using credits anyway, so it's not really worth it. But the thing is, this opens up the possibility for a lot of pay-to-win content in future. Now, we know that free-to-play games thrive on new content, and by having that possibility available for them to add in cash-only items, which could be straight up better than their credit counterparts, means even if it isn't pay-to-win now, it's quite possible it's going to be that way in future. It's really difficult for them not to do that because they've already opened themselves up to that. Now, moving on from this, the characters themselves. You don't start off with any characters, so you have to go in through the tutorial and then the training mode to get a feel of how the game plays and what the characters are like. Now, the characters are a bit different. They've got different abilities and this and that, but What sets them apart is mainly their appearance. Like, you can play them slightly differently, but I didn't find any character particularly unique, and their art style just really put me off. It is a really just hyper-sexualized game, which is unfortunately something pretty typical of games that come out of Korea. Don't know what's going on with that there. So I've got 2 characters here. You do start off with enough credits to purchase 2, or you could just save the credits and equip them with items, which is probably a smarter idea. Now I've got these 2 characters down here. You can see there's one of them. It's basically this sort of machine golem type character. He's a bit tanky, but his appearance is like that. But you know, you look at the other one that I've got, and it's just it's the generic succubus character. It's not really anything particularly original. So yeah, there it is. She's in a thong, for crying out loud. So unfortunately, this is the better character out of the 2. I've just noticed actually the stats are straight up better, so I'm not sure if the character itself is straight up better than the other, but I did find I lasted longer playing as this... what's her name? Something or other. This female character instead of the other one, the robot guy. So in the time that I played, this turned out to be the better character, which is unfortunate because this is a character I don't really enjoy playing anyway. But, you know, you're kind of stuck with the choices that you make unless you grind up the cash to go and get another one. Now, I didn't play enough to really figure out exactly how many matches it would take. And the reason for that is because the limitation of servers means that most of them are pretty full. It's a good thing, but at the same time you can't really get into a game, so there are issues with it right now. It has just launched, so it might take a little while for it to really straighten itself out. But I'm just gonna cut to some gameplay. Unfortunately, I can't show you full matches because the game just kept crashing when I was trying to record matches. So I'll show you some parts of it and try to explain to you what's exactly happening. Now, to get into a game, they use a fairly typical server browser list, and this shouldn't be a problem to navigate. In fact, it's a fairly generic standard part of any game that has any form of multiplayer as a server list. The problem is, this particular one doesn't display anything other than the map, server name, and what seems to be an arbitrary rank of some sort. The thing is, they have different game modes in this game, but trying to differentiate them on the server is not as easy as it looks. Because if you have a look on the right side, there's this thing called a tag, and it does differentiate the servers between different game modes in some cases, not every case. It's sort of, think of it as a tag in a Facebook post or something, or a tag in or a Twitter hashtag. That's pretty much what it is. It does tag it with certain information, but good luck trying to figure out if that's a game mode or is that a particular rule on the server, because I couldn't tell. I searched online and I couldn't tell the difference. So you just sort of jump in and hope for the best. I did notice there are a few different game modes, and I'm going to show you a couple of them. Now, this first mode that you're seeing right here is a combination of a last man standing, or rather last team standing, and the joust mode, or head-on assault mode. Basically, there is a single lane in the form of this bridge, which you're seeing right here, and you have 2 teams of 4 going head-to-head and trying to eliminate the other team. Now, on either side of the bridge, there's a little totem which heals the team's characters from that side, so you have a place to sort of retreat to. But the aim of it is trying to survive together with the team. It is kind of, yeah, there's a bit of tactics involved because you kind of have to know when to support and when to pull back. But because it's random matchmaking, there is really no way to really know who you're going to be paired up against or whether you're going to be able to support anybody or be supported at all. So it kind of turns into a spam fest in the end of it. And not exactly a game mode I particularly enjoyed. Now, this next mode that you're seeing right here is a sort of free-for-all deathmatch mode on a much smaller map. Now, there's only 4 of us on this particular server, but I think that's actually enough. And it seems like this mode seems to suit the gameplay a lot better. Mainly because you're going to be up against random players, and going to be matched with random players anyway. There doesn't seem to be much of a party system or anything, not that I can find anyway, so you're going to be up against random characters, and trying to work as a team, given the different abilities of the characters, doesn't really work if you don't know what you're going in with. And especially given that you can only choose your character right at the beginning, and then you can't change for the rest of the match, you're kind of stuck that way. So this mode seems to work pretty well, I suppose. It's at least has less drawbacks than team-based modes. Now there are also domination style capturing points, and those seem to work pretty similar to the kind of typical MOBA maps. I didn't manage to get any recording of those. It was just really hard to find a server that wasn't full with that, but it seems to be the most popular game mode. And that doesn't work too badly either. Instead of having towers, you have capture points, so it works pretty much the same as domination style on any other game. And that wasn't too bad. But again, the same problem with the team play is trying to support your team or work as a team is really difficult if you don't know what you're being matched with. So, is it any good? Well, I'm going to have to give this one a definite no. For the simple reason that it is a free-to-play game with a huge potential for pay to win. The art style is incredibly over-sexualized and highly sort of anime fan service. And the character designs themselves aren't particularly imaginative. I mean, if you could see them in basically any other fantasy-type game. So they just seem to be archetypes that are borrowed from other games. While, yeah, they put enough detail into them, honestly, it just doesn't do it for me. And I personally don't really like it anyway. Honestly, if you're looking for a good third-person sort of action game with a bit of MOBA elements to it, just go and play Smite. It's free to play as well, and it plays a lot better than this. And that's all there really is to it. So, yeah, that's the conclusion. If you think you might like this type of game, go and play Smite. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Panzer, taking a look at ArcheBlade, now free to play on Steam, and I'll see you guys next time.